Assalamu alaikum dear friends and students. In this video we will discuss the solution of assignment based on introduction, structure and reactivity of carbonyl compounds. The question 1 was, for the following carbonyl compounds indicate which phase Re or Psi is being shown. So you were given these 5 carbonyl compounds and you were asked which phase is being shown. So let's start from the question first part of the question. This ketone was provided to you, and here you were asked whether the shown phase is Re or Psi. So for Re or Psi identification, we have to set the priority of this carbonyl phase. For example, this oxygen has the first priority, because if we compare this oxygen with the other two carbons, obviously oxygen has the higher atomic number. So this is the first priority. And for the second priority, we will consider this right-handed carbon and not the left-handed carbon. And the answer is obvious, because this right-handed carbon is further connected to two carbons, but this left-handed carbon is only connected to one carbon. So this right-handed carbon is given the second priority, and the third priority goes to this left-handed carbon. So overall, if we look from the first priority to the second priority and from second to third, the direction is found to be clockwise. So for the clockwise direction of the top three first, second and third prioritized groups, we call the phase to be Re. So the phase that is shown here is Re phase. Now let's take the other example. Here you could simply see, although we agree that oxygen is the first priority, but there is no third priority at all, because both groups adjacent to carbonyl, either if you think the left hand side or the right hand side, both have the same priority. So we cannot assign the Re or Psi phase for this particular molecule. Well, apparently this carbonyl also looks symmetrical, because this left hand side and the right hand side groups are same. But wait, and then this chloro has made this compound to be somehow unsymmetrical, because this chloro is closer to this left hand side and not to the right hand side. So overall, this oxygen obviously will always be the first priority. This left hand side groups will be considered as the second priority, and the right hand side groups will be considered as the third priority. That's because of this chlorine, which is closer to the left hand side group. So from first priority to second priority, which is on the left hand side, and to third priority, the direction is anti-clockwise. So overall, the phase of the carbonyl that is being shown here is considered to be Psi. Let's consider one more example. For this carbonyl, we have to again assign the priority, oxygen being the higher atomic numbered element will be given the first priority. For the second and third priority, we will give this left hand group to be the second priority, and the right hand group to be the third priority. That's because this left hand group has this carbon which is attached to two more carbons, one single bonded through single bond and the other carbon through the double bond. But for the right hand group, this carbon has only connection to one doubly bonded carbon, and we have one hydrogen here. So this left hand group has more priority than the right hand group. So this left hand group overall has the second priority, and the right hand group has the third priority. So the direction of the priorities move in the anti-clockwise manner. So overall, the phase that is being shown here, the carbonyl phase, is Psi. The last part of this question, again, if we prioritize the three groups of oxygen being the first priority, and the second priority goes to the right hand side group, because this carbonyl is directly connected to the nitrogen, and the left hand side group is given the third priority, because this carbonyl is directly connected to the carbon, and we know that nitrogen has higher atomic number than the carbon. So overall, the first priority and the second priority and the third priority has the direction of rotation to be clockwise. So the phase of this carbonyl that is being shown here is Re. Now let's discuss the question number 2 that was given in this assignment. It says protonation of carbonyl makes it more electrophilic than the corresponding unprotonated carbonyl. Explain this behavior. Well, before answering this question, let's consider the case how the protonation uh, occurs and what we get after the carbonyl has been protonated. So this carbonyl, which is not protonated at all at this stage, is called the unprotonated. Once it protonated, it becomes like this. Here, we already know that the carbonyl's carbon is electrophilic in nature, but once this oxygen, carbonyl's oxygen has been protonated, this central carbonyl carbon becomes more electrophilic. So the reason of this central carbonyl carbon to be more electrophilic is there are basically two reasons. The number one reason is that this oxygen now has become more electron withdrawing as compared to the neutral analog. Because of this positive charge, it has become more electron withdrawing, and hence this oxygen will also become more electron withdrawing because of electron pulling strength of this positively charged oxygens. And the second reason is that when the nucleophile attacks to this green carbon, we have the neutral intermediate, because once the nucleophile attacks to this carbon, this pi bond will break and the pi electron density will shift towards the positively charged oxygen, and we will have the neutral intermediate. However, for this species, when the nucleophile attacks to this blue carbon, we will have the negatively charged intermediate. So neutral intermediate formation is better than negatively charged intermediate. Question 3 was about this nucleophilic substitution. It says nucleophilic substitution at carbonyl does not proceed in an SN2 manner. Rather, it occurs via the formation of tetrahedral intermediate. Explain this behavior with general equations. Basically, they are saying that this type of reaction does not occur, which is being shown here, because uh, the nucleophile, when attacks to this carbon, this R prime cannot leave in a simple manner. The answer is very obvious, because this carbon which is being attacked is sp2 in nature, and we know that sp2 hybridized carbon cannot afford the SN2 substitution. But why the sp2 hybridized carbon does not afford SN2? Basically, for the SN2 substitution or reaction to occur, the nucleophile has to come uh, anti-parallel to the leaving group, and in doing so, this pi electron density of this carbonyl will resist the nucleophile to come to anti-parallel to this Cr prime bond. So nucleophile does not have the right trajectory or the right path to approach this anti-bonding orbital of this Cr prime, so that this R prime may be removed. This also applies not only to the carbonyl but also to the alkene. Similarly, the nucleophile does not have the SN2 substitution to the sp2 hybridized carbon, which is also also in the case of alkene. For the fourth question, it says Berge-Dunit's trajectory defines the geometry of attack of a nucleophile at carbonyl with an angle around 107 degree. So what are the features that result in this angle? Basically, the question was about this particular angle. How have they got this particular angle for the trajectory of the nucleophile? So before discussing the trajectory, we have to consider the pi framework and the sigma framework of the carbonyl. We already know that for the carbonyl, the carbon and oxygen has the sigma bond, which is called the pi framework. But after the pi framework, we have which is called the sigma framework. After the sigma framework, we have the pi framework. We know that the carbon has an unhybridized orbital, and oxygen also has one unhybridized orbital, which both will share their electron density through the sideways overlapping, and hence we have the pi framework. Now let's discuss what will happen to this pi framework? When the nucleophile attacks to the carbonyl, obviously it will prefer to attack perpendicular to the carbonyl. In doing so, we will have the maximum overlap. In fact, the nucleophile will have the maximum overlap with the anti-bonding orbital, the pi star orbital of the carbonyl. However, this perpendicular attack or this 90-degree attack is not feasible because of the repulsion of this electron density, this pi electron density. So nucleophile has to approach the carbonyl carbon slightly bent from this perpendicular, so the angle of attack becomes obtuse, not the perpendicular, and this angle of attack has been calculated to be 107 degree, which is called the Burgi-Dunitz trajectory or the Burgi-Dunitz angle. So this Burgi-Dunitz angle is basically is a compromise of these this factor that the nucleophile unfortunately cannot come to the perpendicular, however it may be bent to have the obtuse angle. Now let's discuss the fifth question of the assignment. It says sodium hydride does not attack the aldehyde or ketone. Account the reason. Here, some let me show the reaction first, then we will discuss. This is the hydride H2 H negative. Sorry, when it attacks to carbonyl, this pi bond moves here, and we have this intermediate. But unfortunately, this reaction does not happen. However, when the hydride attacks to the hydrogen that is attached to the electronegative element, the reaction very smoothly occurs, and we have the hydrogen gas formation and the leaving group. So why one above reaction is not happening and the lower reaction is happening? It's simply because hydride does not serve as a nucleophile, but it serves as a base. So what is what makes hydride to serve as base and not to serve as nucleophile? It is hidden in its electronic structure, because we know that the hydride has the filled 1s orbital, which is of the ideal size to interact with this sigma star orbital of this HX bond, and we know that the formation of the bond and the breakage of the bond is based on the orbital overlapping, and then the breakage of uh, X occurs. However, for the nucleophilic behavior of hydride, which does not happen, is because this 1s, this filled 1s orbital is not compatible enough with the anti-bonding orbital of this carbonyl, which is called the pi star orbital. Now you must be surprising that we have the reactions in which the hydride attacks the carbonyl and the product is the alcohol. But remember that hydride attack to the carbonyl to have the alcohol is not the H negative ion. Rather, they are the sodium borohydride or lithium aluminum hydride or diisobutyl aluminum hydride, etc. Because those hydrides are not the H negative, but they have the sigma bond with the aluminum or the boron, and they have some sigma character, and they are not the filled 1s orbital. So those hydrides do attack to the carbonyl, but this naked hydride, which is simply H negative ion, does not attack to the carbonyl. This was the easiest question of this assignment. You were simply asked to show the curly arrows for the attack. So let's discuss the first case. We know that this carbonyl uh, behave both as electrophilic and nucleophilic. It depends on the other partner. For example, here in this particular case, this aluminum chloride is very much electrophilic because of empty orbital of the aluminum. Hence, this carbonyl's oxygen will anchor its electron, its pair of electron, to the empty orbital of aluminum. So this is a curly arrow that is to be shown here. You were not asked to draw the whole product or the intermediate, whatever. You were simply asked to show the curly arrow as I have shown here. In the second part, here the reverse will occur because water is a nucleophile and this carbon is electrophile. Hence, the lone pair of oxygen of the water will attack to this carbonyl. But remember, when this carbonyl is attacked, we cannot have the 5 valency of carbon. So to avoid the pentavalency, one of the bond of the carbon is to be broken, and we know that pi bond is weaker than sigma bond. Hence, the pi bond will break, and we will have again the tetravalency of carbon. For the third case, it's similar like the second case. The methanol, being nucleophilic from its oxygen, will attack its electron density, its electron pair to the center to the carbonyl carbon, and as a result, the pi bond will break, and we will have again the tetravalency of this carbonyl carbon. The last question for the assignment 1. It was asked, formaldehyde is very reactive carbonyl compound. However, hexafluoroacetone is even more than 500 times prone to hydration, with the equilibrium constant for the formation of corresponding geminal diol being 1.2 million. Show its equation of hydration and explain this behavior. So this is a structure of hexafluoroacetone, and here you could see 3 fluorine attached to left hand side and 3 fluorine attached to the right hand side's carbon. So overall we have 6 chlorine, and fluorine is very much electronegative. In fact, the most electronegative element of the periodic table, and hence all 6 fluorines will pull the electron density toward themselves, and this will make this central carbonyl carbon extremely electrophilic, and hence any nucleophile may approach to this carbonyl carbon easily to attack. So this is the case of the hydration. The water, being nucleophilic, will attack the central carbonyl carbon, and we will have the oxyanion here and this oxonium ion here when the water attacks to this carbon. So after the proton shifting, and this oxyanion and the oxonium ion will become neutralized, and we will have the diol, and the diol on the same carbon is called the geminal diol. Formaldehyde is also reactive, but hexafluoroacetone is more reactive because of 6 fluorines attached. And why formaldehyde is reactive? And that is not reactive because of the electronegativity or the inductive effect, because we do not have such effect in that case. However, in formaldehyde, we have no steric hindrance for the nucleophile to come, because when nucleophile comes, we have a very little hindrance of the hydrogen. However, here we do have the hindrance, but that hindrance has been outweighed by the high electron pulling density of fluorine to make the central carbonyl carbon highly electron deficient. So that's all for the assignment 1 that was given to you. I have discussed all the 7 questions. So I hope you enjoyed the assignment 1. Thank you.